Hi, so welcome to this next lesson where we're going to continue building the LNS, and we're going to do the dynamic profiles, the access profiles, the access group profiles, the L2TP profiles and the tunnels and the services and the SI interface, so the service interface. Now, this is a lesson that I've done previously a couple of years ago, but it was not done very well. It's very difficult to see, and the sound is not very good. So this is a rejig of that lesson. Now, what you're going to need to have is a license as well. Now, Juniper do a free VMX 60-day license. So here's how I installed it. It's one of the easiest methods for me anyway, is if we start shell. So we drop into the shell, we can do a pwd, present working directory, where is it, var home clive, ls-la, what's in there, license and radius. So all I did was I did touch license and then vi license. Escape I allows you to insert, paste the license into here, escape : WQ, but I'm just going to Q because I've already saved it. WQ saves it. Okay, then we go back to the CLI and we do a request system license add, and you'll note here file name. So if you're doing it the way I've just said, all you have to do to put in here is /var /home /wherever /license and press enter, and it will add the license in for you. And then if we do a show system license, you will have this. Okay, so it says the licenses are installed, a VMX Juniper evaluation, 60 days. Okay, and the VMX features, the premium. Okay, right, with that in mind, let's, all that completed, let's go into edit mode. And the first thing we'll do is we will configure up the SI interfaces. So let's do a set interfaces SI-000. Now, I'm going to obviously be doing at a later stage some quazzing. And one of the issues you have with L2TP is you don't know the tunnels that's going to be coming in. You don't know we know the physical interfaces and this SI virtual interface, but we don't know the tunnel interfaces. So we have to do what's called hierarchical quaz. And for that, we need a scheduler as well. So we're going to put in here hierarchical scheduler, and the maximum hierarchical levels we're going to put as 2, because that's all we need. At the same time, we can put in there a description actually. So let's put in a description. So we'll put in here 4-L2TP- Okay, so there's a description. Now we have to put the encapsulation, which is generic services. Okay, so it's general. So we're going to put in here encapsulation generic services. We're also going to put the 2 families that we want to support. So if you're going to do dual stack, I mean, it's best to do both anyway. So that's what we're going to do, but you have to do this on unit 0. Okay, so we do this. So the other commands are for the actual main interface. This is for the unit 0 sub. So we're going to put in there inet. Oh, sorry. It would help if I put family inet and inet 6. So those are the 2 families we're going to support, IPv4, IPv6. So let's do a commit with that. And that's our interface completed. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to set our dynamic profiles, and these use Juniper variables. Okay, so it's going to be far too long to go through what the variables are, but if you copy what I'm putting here now, then you can change and look up what you need for your network once you've completed this. So we'll do it one line at a time. These are obviously have to be like this because, again, this is the dynamic processing of the tunnels. Okay, so there's the first one. So we're going to set a dynamic profile. This is just a name. That's all this is. You can call it whatever you want. And we have to use these Juniper variables. Okay, so the routing instance and the interface name. So we're going to pop that in there. That's the first one. And we're going to use this dynamic profile all the way through. We have to put next hop requirements in there. So we do that with this command. Let's go back so that you can see. So routing instances again. Okay, so there's the whole command, and there's our next hop at the end. Okay, so we're basically telling it the framed route IP address next hops. Okay, this is going to be from the radius as well. So we'll enter that one. Then we move on to the next one, which is the framed route cost. Okay, we actually have exactly the same all the way up to where it says next hop here. So this command that I'm going to put in is the rest of it here previous to it is exactly the same. It just changes from here. Okay, so let's pop that one in. Let's just grab it a minute because I've already done this in advance. So we'll pop that in there, and as you can see, that is what is different. So we'll enter that. The next line is going to be our preferences and the distances. So we'll pop that one in. Okay. So let me just go back to the beginning of this one so that you see the whole thing. Okay, so you should be able to pause that and see the whole command. So we'll enter that one. And we will enter, don't worry, because I'll do a show run afterwards anyway, or run show configuration so that you can see these. And we're going to do the framed route tags. Okay, so that's entered. We're also going to do the qualified next hops. Okay, so these are the subscriber next hops. And we are also going to do the dial options for the L2TP encapsulation. We are also going to set dedicated dial options. These are still the dial options. As I said, I'm going to do a run show configuration afterwards anyway, and we'll pause it for a few seconds so that you can pause the video and take a copy of the commands. Okay, now we're doing the keep live intervals. And then we're going to do the INET unnumbered addresses. Okay, so these are the addresses that will be assigned, but initially they're unnumbered, obviously. And that's because we also have to set up an address range. And we want the V6 version as well. As you can see, INET 6. We're also going to set up the managed configuration. We need in there other stateful configuration. And we also need, what are we going to use for IPv6? Well, in this case, we're going to use NDRA. Okay, so we need to put the NDRA prefix. Now, we can go ahead and commit that because that's not reliant on anything else. So we'll commit that, and then I'm going to do a run show configuration. So run show configuration display set. Okay, now let's have a look at all those lines. So these are the lines of code that we have just put in. So from here down to here is all the dynamic profile. So you should be able to pause it at that point and be able to copy this and then change it to how you want it, however you decide you want it to work within your environment. Okay, so what we're going to move on with next then is we're going to set the access profiles. Okay, so we'll do set access sorry about that, the system's playing a bit slow at the moment, probably because I've got so many VMs open. So we'll call this, because it's the AAA side, we're going to call it AAA profile. That's just a name again. You can call it whatever you want, but best to keep it sort of in line with what you're actually doing so that you can make out what's going on. So then we put in the accounting order, and we want that to be radius. And then we want the authentication order is also going to be a radius. And now we want the radius authentication server and the address. Well, for us, we know what it is. It's 192.168.1.2, remember? Okay, so that's the authentication server. Then we need the accounting server to be the same. So we can go back to here and we can do accounting server is also 192.168.1.2. Now we go to the radius server secret as per previously in a previous lesson with centralized administration. We need to put in here a secret. So we go back to here and we do a radius server, give it the address again, 192.168.1.2, secret, and again we'll just call it let me in 1. Okay, so that's that one. Now we need to do an accounting order again, but the way it's done this time is it's configured slightly differently, and that's because each one is dependent on the actual tunnel itself, okay, and the profiles within the tunnel. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do but this time it's a space, okay, and then we do the accounting order radius, because this is all under accounting as well now. Okay, so under accounting, we're now going to put in there accounting stop on failure, because obviously if it fails, we don't want it to account. Well, there's nothing going to be able to account anyway, but we don't want that process running. We also want stop on access deny. If the access is denied, we also don't want the accounting to continue then. It still will give you the information of who's tried to get on, but it will stop the accounting information, okay? And then we want to do the update interval. So the update interval at this point, we're going to put it as 10, okay? And the accounting statistics, well, it's obvious what we want there. We want volume time, because you're going to want to base your northbound accounting and the statistics on the volume and the time, because I'm guessing you're going to be charging maybe per bandwidth or maybe per time on the systems utilizing the transit, however it's going to be, but you want this for that. Okay, so that's the end of the AAA profile configuration. So we can commit check that first, and that should be fine, and we'll commit that. Now we're going to move on to the access group profile, and this is the L2TP group profile, all right, for the L2TP side of things. So let's do set access group profile. Again, let's call this L2TP-group-profile, okay, and let's space that out. Now these are all the PPP side of things, so we're going to do PPP, and we're going to give it an idle timeout of 200. And we're staying on PPPP, and the options we'll do as PAP, and we're going to do CHAP. So PPP-options PAP, and also CHAP. For the differences between the two, that's beyond this lesson, so just do a quick read up about it. So we've also got an MTU, and we're going to put it as 1492. This is for any overhead, because obviously we don't want the packets fragmented, so hence we put it at 1492. Don't confuse this with the MSS. We will go through that at a later stage. MTU and MSS are, you would think were the same, but the way they behave is different. So the last thing we need to do is we need to do the keep alive. So this is just under PPP. It's not the PPP options. We'll put the keep alive as 30. Now that we can also do a commit check on now. And you have to do it in this order, by the way, because if you start trying to do the actual L2TP profiles themselves, not the group profiles, the profiles in the tunnel group, it calls these. And obviously they won't commit without these being there first. So let's do a commit. And now we're going to move on to an access profile for the clients. So let's do set access profile. Again, an intuitive name. Again, this is just a name, L2TP-profile client. And again, I'm just making up a client name here, 21CN L2TP, and the maximum sessions, and we're going to do per tunnel 4,000. Now, if you've got a lot faster interfaces, you can obviously put this way higher than 4,000, but 4,000 for a 1 gig is fine. And now we're going to put in there our interface ID. Okay, so we're going to go back to L2TP. And the interface ID, we're going to put in there as L2TP encapsulation. Yeah, that's right. This is a name. So we'll put in there L2TP encapsulation. Okay, that's the ID for the interface that we're going to use for the PPP users, as it says here. Okay, for any users missing an interface ID. Now we need to put in our shared secret, and now this shared secret is for the tunnel. Okay, it's for the tunnels that are between the LAC and the LNS, not the tunnels for the subscribers, but the tunnel between, or the interface connectivity between the LAC and the LNS. Okay, the LAC is normally your upstream provider's responsibility, but in these lessons we're going to create one, and we're going to create a CPE to show it all working from end to end. Okay, so let's put the shared secret in there. So if we go back to L2TP, and we're going to put in here a shared secret, and again we'll just put in there, let's just put in their password. Look, just something nice and simple. You're obviously going to want it a bit more complicated than that, or a bit harder to guess, should I say. And then we need to call our user group profile. So this is why you have to do it in a certain order. Okay, so we'll go back to the 21CN name of the client. Okay, and the user group profile, well, let's have a look. It's the one we've just created. There's only the one there, L2TP group profile. Now we can commit check this one. So as you can see, one calls the other and so on and so on. So they're all linked together. So now we go to the tunnel group, and the tunnel group is going to call the L2TP access profile that we've just created and the AAA profile. So that's why we have to do it in this order. So we're going to do set services L2TP, and it's going to be a tunnel group. Oh, okay, tunnel group, and I'm just going to call it LAC. Okay, and the L2TP access profile is the one that we've just done, which is L2TP profile. And L2TP profile calls L2TP group profile, so they are now all linked together. Okay, so we're going to go back to the LAC, to the name LAC, and we're going to put in there our AAA access profile, and that's our AAA profile. So you can see it all being linked together now. Then we need to put in our local gateway address. So that's the address of the interface, our GE or XE or whatever interface it is you're using that faces the LAC. Okay, so in our case, we're going to make up an address, and we're just going to call it 193.56.87.1. It would help if I put local gateway address in there. My apologies. Local gateway address is going to be 193.56.87.1. Okay, and now we need to put in our service device pools. Okay, and in this case, we're going to call it LNS, and that's calling the actual pool that we're going to set up. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this in there now. So let's put in there set. Actually, that comes under the LAC as well. So we can go back to the LAC. We'll put in there service. We want the device pool. So we're just putting there service device pool, and we're going to call it LNS. And then we're going to set up the dynamic profile, which we configured at the very beginning. So the dynamic profile, if we question mark it, it's actually just this one that we need. Okay, this is our dynamic profile that we created. So that's what we need to call there. Okay, now we can do a commit check, and it might not commit now because we haven't got. Right, okay, so we don't have the device pool defined as yet, so we need to do that as well. But first, let's do a set services, service, device pools, pool, LNS, and we assign it to the interface, and the interface is SI-000. Now let's do a commit check again. Okay, now it succeeds, so we can do a commit. So there we go. Now that's that part of the configuration completed. I will now do a run show configuration display set. It's a long enough video as it is this, so we're going to continue with the configuration in the next video. But for now, here is the configuration. So that's the configuration of the LNS thus far. So I hope you look forward to the next lesson, and thanks for your time, and speak to you soon.